add to it and to complete it?
Well, I would say that I chose this particular tool for a couple of reasons. One, it's free, and they have a paid version.
Free, I'll write that down.
It's completely, it's one of those products that's new. They're saying, hey, we got this out there, use it for free. If you want to donate, go ahead. It's integrated with Google Docs. So with all the, when you upload your document, it goes into the CTC's Google Docs central location, so it's all there. Google Docs is pretty secure, so you're not as worried. You're not worried about things. Google's not going to probably lose too many documents. It's really simple. It just has a few features. So it was just something let's just use something really simple. And because it's simple and you just online, one little video, you can use it. Having said that, there's lots of tools out there. And depending on what your needs are, for your office, within your office, backups, drafts. So anyway, yeah, so the answer is this one's simple. It's a free tool. There's lots of them. And I'd be happy to share more of what's out there because there's a lot of different ways to slice that.
So you chose it for us because of its simplicity, it's free, and it makes good sense for the CTC, but doesn't mean you're necessarily endorsing it for somebody's private practice. They have to look at various other systems.
I'm using it with customers too.
Right.
It just depends on what is the level that we want to track.
Right.
There's some customers that wouldn't even want to use that. It's too much. Other customers say, no, we need drafts. So there's different things. So the next topic is this issue of sizing your articles. And maybe Kathy, you want to mention a little bit about this since you helped us to.
Well, yeah. What it is that if you have a very short, the article is really getting people's interest and getting people interested in wanting to learn more about it. So the articles have to be more about that, and then if you want to go in depth and go into more. So I think it's really great if you're writing a lot of these, to write it short and sweet and have the information, but if you want to learn more, then you have another article, I think, that can go into much more depth. But it's really about the information, having the emotional excitement about it in there, and having a call to action. So it's really, like if you have information, it's about saying, okay, why do I care about this? And then having a short little story about why, and then the call to action. If you have those three things in it, if a person's interested, they're gonna know it, and they're gonna want to know more, from it.
But if you're talking about sort of giving almost a teaser to people.
More than a teaser.
But drawing them in, having
Right. something
that draws them in. And Linda's talking about needing some juice, needing a lot of content, something to make it worth her while. Are we talking about, you say then you have a longer article. Are you talking about then providing in that shorter thing a link
Yes.
for somebody who's interested? Or what Dan has talked about laying out things over the course of time? In other words, here's some thoughts about this. I'm getting you interested. Stay tuned. Next week I'm going to be posting another article that talks about in more depth about this particular issue. Or is it just there's different ways of doing it?
There's different ways of doing it. And it has to do with the way we set up CTC. How is that going to work? Because sometimes you're reading an article and I want to know more now, and there's an opportunity to do it. But then, of course, a lot of us, we're writing it, and then next week we'll come up with another one the next week, and that keeps the people coming back too. So there's two ways of looking at it. Both, I think, are great. But guess what? After you have them all up there, there's going to be other articles already written from last week and the week before and the week before. So you can get the in-depth study that you want just because it's been going for X amount of weeks or months or whatever.
And ultimately, the things are called authority, fame. There's a lot of words that if you say, I want to go read some Wayne Dyer, all of a sudden, I know what that is. I can find little stuff, I can find bigger stuff, I can go to his website, I can go to the blog. People who have this huge fame and authority of their content, and they have a niche, what they talk about. You can find and continue on the path. So when you're entering your content initially into this sea that is moving fast, that means a rapids river of content. You look at LinkedIn, it's going down there. Facebook, you know, I mean, content is flowing. So you want to put things out there that you introduce them to you as a newer author and not being as famous as these giants, like Guy Kawasaki and stuff. So you having smaller over time. You know, if you're fishing, the river's going by, you're throwing stuff out there. You know, you're better to scoop people in. As you develop more content, you know, and you have things, Dan's coming out with a book, and you can have that whole book organized on a big blog. No one's going to go to it, right? There's so much stuff out there until you fish some of it out there, you know. So with CTC and the group power, getting eyeballs, you know, the group together can get more people to give more authority to CTC and the branding. And then as you're fishing your content out there, you draw them into your bigger sources.
And then what was Mark was saying earlier is the 50, he's always talking about 52 blog, 52 posts.
52 posts.
You know, if you set up X amount, then it's not such an overwhelming situation, but you have them every week. You send the next one, the next one, the next one, you know.
Well, that's when, you know, is to briefly mention that about, what you mentioned 52 posts. I love that concept because if you get 52, and if you have a book, you've got 52. You spend a couple of years organizing and creating. If you create those and you put them in the system, as we'll show you a little later, where you set it up, it's just going to automatically post once a week for 52 weeks. Now you can skip a lot of the groundwork. You can now focus and say, I've got that done. I've got a year of weekly posts on a topic that is my expertise. Now what do? I go look at industry blogs, call them up and say, they're all hungry for content. I call them directly and say, would you like this stream? If you agree to put it on your front page and do it every single week, I will agree to give you my stream of content. You can even read them. Look how good they are. And people will say, oh yeah, that's great content, that stuff, that's perfect for us. And it happens all the time. So now you can focus on that type of thing. And you know, CTC is just one of those.
And CTC is, with Mark's help, our goal is 52 posts a year, easily, once we get the system up and running.
And we got ahead there for a bit. You know, Dan and I sat down and we took, because we've still got about a lot of content.
We have a basket full.
We've got a bunch of content that, as the committee gets going, that we can pull with a lot of you in it. Little video snippets that were awesome from thinking circles and things like that.
So if you have 5 or 6 streams of CTC, you know, John and I write 5 or 6 on legacy, Kathy, David, you know, how do you, if it's one a week, does mine go every 6?
That's part of that's one of the things that we're not going into today, which is scheduling all this.
Right.
I mean, you'll see there's a fine
So
footnote.
if I've
Now
got a
you'll
4-part
appreciate
series,
it.
but I gotta do it in the pipeline.
It's all we're gonna work that out on an ad hoc basis. Once you're ready with your 5,
Okay.
I mean, we'll see what else we have. If we don't have anything else, or, you know,
Yeah.
it's not right, then you're gonna go,
And can't we do more than one at a time?
Yeah. Well, we're getting ahead now, so let's.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But that's
That's
well,
all, yes.
when that comes out, not that you mentioned that, when we get to that part where we're actually looking at that, we can just easily, it'll be a lot clearer.
But does Kambachi allow that kind of sort of queuing?
Kanbanchi is merely a board. It's an electronic version of what is called Kanban, where they put cards, you know, 4x8 cards or 4x6
Oh, like
cards, and they would stick them to a wall.
organizing.
Like storyboard.
Yeah,
Right.
it was invented to
Yeah, it's
reduce,
cards.
to show what your working process is.
Mhm.
Project
Right.
management
I see.
system.
Yeah.
So it's just merely to
You
organize.
can see it all at a glance of where things are.
But that's all it is.
Yes.
Right.
And things get out of control fast with content, so you really need something, you know, whatever it is.
Track it. Where's this one, where's that one?
So once you've decided on these things and you've got your posts, it's now in the system. The article is now, it's one of those columns of Kanbanchi, and you and your coach can move it forward. So now we're into the big meat part of it, which there's been a lot of questions on.
But the dressing actually comes before the post, right? You
Well, before we go online to put it online,
Okay.
yes.
So that's
So this is where on your phases, I mean, you have both the agenda and the second document, the 4 phases of posting, take you through the process. We are now on item number 3, dressing the content.
So
item number 3 on the 4 phases, item number 5 on the agenda. Sorry about that.
So now your content is linked. As we saw on that screen, you just up your Word document or your whatever it is, your picture, your video, it's linked to that box, and there's your content. And now you've got this action item list to put together. What do we need to do to get this ready to go? And there are the pieces of clothing, if you will, are the same for any type of content because all of the posting systems ask for the same thing. The posting systems want a headline or headlines. They want a summary. They want some type of visual. And let's go just a little bit forward here. They want keywords and hashtags. They want a call to action. And those are the things that every system is going to want. So when your content is sitting there, we'll back up just to go a little detail on each one of these. So here we have headlines. Whoops. For this article, we have some examples we'll look at. I'll open up that document so we can go right over there.
You're now on this dressing the post doc.
Yes. I'm going to go open the dressing the post document here. Checklist, dressing the post. So the first item is the headlines. So you want to prepare a catchy headline. And keep in mind, that's your very first entry point of anybody who is scanning these crazy, streams of posts that you're always seeing. You think about which ones have you clicked on. What was it about those headlines that made you click on something? We all have. Something was interesting. And so for this particular example, we have new communication process for families, Samoan wisdom circle for families. It's also good to write a few headlines. It's a brainstorming thing, and you can try different headlines, and you can see which ones get the most feedback. So the approach is you can be descriptive or it can be a summary. You may want to use the type of keywords in it. You want to capture the essence. It might be funny. It might be provocative. There's a lot of controversy even about they pay people to write headlines for all these news stories where it'll say, the person's head was this and then you read the article and it was nothing about that. So there's all these, you can go all the way to that, and it's shocking written and people get disappointed. So whatever it is, you want to have some headlines that are going to appeal to different groups, essentially. You may have people that are customers, people that are partners, different prospect groups, whoever you're wanting to read it, your headline should really go towards that.
Are there any questions? Because now we're in the meat of this, and this is what we want you to be able to do for your article. And for you coaches here, we want you to be coaches. We want you to be able to help others with this. So we're talking about headlines. Does anybody have a question or want to take that a little deeper at this point?
I just think it's really important. And so I think the coaches have to really brainstorm with the people they're working with, because you've got to grab people's attention. There are so many things for people to look at online, and if you don't grab them with that, they're not going to look inside.
No? Can you go back to the Word document set? So here was some effort for this article to bring it into the ambit of the FIP, right? The CTC, for being about trust folk or their families. So obviously the drafter of this thought that the word family was going to help that. This is much art and science, and this was frankly done a little bit on the fly. So, there may be better ones. I'm not representing, I don't know about how Mark and Kathy feel, but I'm not representing these as the only 4 headlines that could ever fit this. there's an art here, and there's a process here, and these were some that we're playing around with and thought, okay.
Well, a great example is when, if this, one of these said, a really in-depth, long look at the Samoan wisdom circle that will enrich your knowledge, then Linda would be like, that's for me. You know, whereas someone else is long, oh, no way.
Right.
Shoot me
Give
now.
me give me the Cliff Notes. So that's why also you may want to have a Cliff Notes version of your 17-page article. If you have both, then there's no reason you can't put all those out there. It's the internet.
And, you know, I've been thinking about this, especially this particular one page of the Samoan Wisdom Circle for Families. First thing that comes to my mind is that when I was in law school, my evidence professor talked about these sorts of circles being the basis for our evidentiary rules. Yeah, the tribal circles and that we do, but I digress. Yeah, but I do think that some of these could be helpful to me too. I really do. You know, sort of like if I were reading this and I would have a family meeting and I was, you know, it could be very, you know, helpful on the fly to kind of pick up, you know, an idea that I could then sort of massage a little bit and work with without having to take a super deep dive. And so I just wanted to, you know, change my comment about that.
Oh, no, I
before.
appreciate it. It's great. I mean, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
I
just used an
definitely
example
do.
to-
I definitely do. No, I'm just saying I like to be honest about things like that, you know, but
Yeah.
I can definitely see the value of something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Mm.
And you get, nobody's raised it, so I'll raise it, is that we already have a title for the article. This is a headline for the post,
Oh, okay.
all right? So we're not now we could call, I mean, but they're two separate things.
This is your regarding line.
Well, you'll see that, how it's used, but yes, it is a good method to kind of distinguish that, but
Could they be the same?
they could be the
Could but they
same.
don't have to be.
Right.
Or you
But-
could have like a catchy title for like an entire article. I mean, we spend a lot of time thinking of titles for our law review articles.
Right.
And that's my big challenge, is to stop writing really long law review articles and write shorter things. But the title always had a colon. And, you know,
Right.
sort of
Right.
like, before the colon was like the really catchy,
And then the subtitle, like.
Right.
you know, right, subtitle or,
Right.
you know, double entendre or whatever it
Right,
is you're trying to
right.
catch, you know, because students edit them, so you're trying to get their attention in the first instance. And then you do have those parts to the article, you know, an outline and so forth, and each one of those, or the subheadings inside the article might be like the headline as opposed to the title.
Right. So that's good, you're thinking
And-
about this. And again, we'll see how it all fits together, but,
And along that line, too, have you ever noticed when you're reading the news now, I don't know that there's an article in any news, you know, NBC, whatever it is, where there aren't misspelled words, just grammar. I'm like, what the heck? These guys are writers. You know, this is MSNBC, they got it's just ridiculous how it's viewed as so fast now. But that is the internet, and there's a technique, you know, to not have to think too much into headlines, or just to think about how you can try different things. Some people say on LinkedIn, if you use one headline in one picture and it's geared towards one group, 10 minutes later you use a different headline in a picture for the same article,
It's a different.
no one's going to click on both of those because they're geared towards two different people. So you can
Yeah.
try the same article with 10 different headlines on the same media, and your chance of having two people open it is very small.
Wow.
And people do that with time zones even, you know. They'll also say that with, you know, there's an example of that are these groups. There's a couple I'm in that have like 300,000 people in them, these technology groups. If I have a question for something, I was looking for some software or whatever, I throw the question out. Within like an hour, I get like 10 answers. If a half an hour later, I throw the same question out, I get 10 answers from totally different people. Because people aren't looking at that all day.
Right.
But when you're tapping into 300,000 people, you throw something out there, you're catching whose eyeballs are on that screen right now. So you can try, that's the beauty of this stuff, you can try a lot of different stuff, you don't have to worry about, you know, that duplication as much. So, So now we'll go back to, so the next one is the summary. You know, this next item. And the summary is a short paragraph describing the essence of your article. It's after the headline, and it's your next step up that ladder for initial contact. So someone sees your headline, and you've earned their eye to go down to your summary. And you've got this little paragraph, and now you need to give them more of the essence. You know, you caught them with a catchy thing. Now, before they want to invest more time, they're going to say, all right, what is this really about? Is it worth clicking, opening, looking at, bookmarking, reading, whatever they're going to do with it? And so you go back over here to the Word doc. So for this article, it could be a 2 to 20 sentences. It's highlights. We call it a summary, which is very same as you had in 8th grade, where the teacher would say, you know, write a summary for your story or whatever, you know. But the way social media uses it, the site CTC is using called Scoop It, is one of the sites. Scoop It calls it insights. And it'll actually take and put little quotes and says insights to whatever you put in as your summary. So trying to get people to really be able to scan deeper as they're looking through a lot of content. So let's see what we have here for the CTC article. Dan, do you want to talk about the summary for the CTC one a little?